Forge, Chapter 46. I shall go to my grave blessing the name of Quartermaster General Nathan Green of Rhode Island. Bellingham raised his voice and said that he'd report Eben for insolence for running at us like that, and General Green stepped in the middle of the fray. I fail to see any insolence, James, he said General mildly. He inclined his large head towards Eben. What's your concern here, Private? Ebenezer held his hat in front of him, nervously twitching it round as he spoke. Curzon here, this gentleman's servant. Him and me fought together at Saratoga. Didn't mean any harm, sir. Just wanted to visit with him for a bit. General Green regarded me. You were a soldier? Where? I fought in the Battle of Brooklyn, sir, and at Fort Washington, as well as Saratoga. I lived here in camp with my company until Mr. Bellingham again required my service. No need to bore the general. Bellingham's polite words carried a note of warning. I'll explain the circumstances later, sir. Sounds like he's earned a chance to visit with his friends, General Green said. We have no need for him for a bit. Give him a leave to go. The officers rode off to General Glover's brigade headquarters, and Eben and me walked the opposite direction at top speed. The other fellows called me a jack-eyed liar when I pointed you out to them. Then they all saw that it was you, and we wanted to wave our hats and holler, but that Baron gets riled up about that sort of thing. Did you feel us all staring at you? We couldn't help ourselves. Look at you. That's a fine coat you're wearing, Master Thrower of Stones. Seems like you're eating well enough. Don't get much fire cake, I wager. His voice was so loud, I wondered if the winter air had broken his hearing. Many of the soldiers we passed stopped their work repairing the hut, cleaning rusty muskets, digging a new privy trench to watch the gap-toothed plowboy shouting like he was calling off goats from the field. I turned west on the shortcut that led to our hut, but Eben shook his head and said in a low voice, Not that way. I'll explain later. Then he resumed talking as loud as a trumpet, telling me about the death of his old breeches and the miraculous appearance of new ones. They showed up on St. Patrick's Day. Did you hear how the Irish fellows from Virginia celebrated that night? Fun lads, but can't play bass to save their lives. We all played bass against some lads from Chester. All the artillery camp plays wicket. What was I talking about? We were moving uphill so fast, I was panting like an outward horse. Breeches, I gasped. Right. Our lads in Delaware captured a ship filled with cloth in British uniforms. That's where these breeches came from. The sergeant finally got himself a proper officer's coat, though the sleeves are too short. We dyed it with walnuts on account of no self-respecting patriot wants to wear a red coat. I stopped to catch my breath. Burns isn't a big fellow. How could the sleeves be too short? You don't know? Eben smacked his forehead. Of course you don't know. How could you know? Big news around here. But it must just have been a mouse fart to the generals and congressmen. John Burns is dead. Smallpox. You're joking. Serious as the grave, my friend. He took ill right after you left and died at the Yellow Springs Hospital. Haven't missed him one bit. We do miss civilness, though. He died a few days after Burns. He went to sleep one night, same as the rest of us, and didn't wake up the next morning. He kicked a clot of dirt and it crumbled. We buried him near Uncle Caleb. Figured the two could keep each other company while complaining about the state of the world. Anyone else? Dead? Nope, that's it. We had one lad come back from the dead. Remember Peter Brown, who could run so fast in Albany? He took sick when we first arrived. He strolled back last week, fat, happy, and married to a girl from Yellow Springs. A more content lad you never saw, except maybe for Greenlaw. Captain made him sergeant. He's the one who needs the longer sleeves in his coat. How fare the others? Faulkner got himself some paper to draw on, and Benny Edwards is teaching Aaron Barry his letters. Waste of time if you ask me. The Barrys have very small brains. Henry spends every minute he can at the creek trying to catch frogs, swears he's going to cook up a mess of frog's legs fried in grease with spring onions and potatoes. Eben shook his head. I'm still hungry all the time. Soon as I get home, I'm planting my backside at Aunt Patient's table and eating for a whole month. I wish I could join you there, I said. You can. Eben glanced around us before dropping the pretense of his act and lowering his voice again. We have a plan.